morning for there to be some sort of written update, but I don't anticipate another press conference tonight unless something drastically changes. With the sheriff, I have Harford County Council President Patrick Vincenti, Harford County Department of Emergency Services Director Rick Ayers, Maryland Transportation Authority Police Major Eichenberg, Maryland State Police Lieutenant Huffman, and County Councilwoman Jessica Boyle-Sottles. And with that, Sheriff Baylor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Christy. I'd like to start off by offering our prayers and thanking our community for the support that we've seen through social media, knowing that one of our deputies was seriously injured in today's incident. I can say, having been up to the scene, that we are very, very fortunate that we are not talking about a police officer fatality today. By God's good grace, we are not standing here having that discussion. Again, thank our community, everybody. Council President Vincenti was the first to reach out to me, and the Councilwoman Jessica Boyle-Sottles. It's her district where this horrific incident took place today. So in summary, and as Christy said, this is still so very early on. An active investigation. We have investigators at the hospital. We have investigators at Upper Chesapeake Hospital. We have investigators at the scene, at multiple scenes. So it's very fluid. I'm going to try to give you the best of what I have and what we know at this point, with the caveat that it is subject to change depending on the situation. It's all very quick. It's all very early. So earlier today, at around 11:25 a.m., Lieutenant Robert Burgess, who's assigned to our community policing division, was out operating an unmarked unit. He observed a Penske rental truck driving in an erratic and unsafe manner and attempted to conduct a traffic stop on that vehicle up on 136 near Snake Lane, which is up in the Churchville area of the county. The driver immediately fled without giving any indication of stopping, immediately fled the scene. While attempting, or right almost immediately, it was involved in a crash with a U.S. mail truck in the area of 136 Shucks Road, which is south of where the initial observation was. With a U.S. mail truck, there were no injuries in that accident. And a few minutes later, a second collision where that Penske truck struck a passenger vehicle at Carson's Run and Route 22, which is getting closer down to the I-95 interchange, the heat center, that area, if you're familiar with where that is. And I think there were multiple passengers in that car, but there were thankfully also no injuries. The driver then entered I-95 going south at about 11:45 a.m. And Maryland State Police, I believe at that point, joined the pursuit. And at some point, the Maryland Transportation Authority were also there assisting us. The driver continued to drive erratically, going northbound in the southbound lanes. The Lieutenant Burgess observed the vehicle south of 95, and while he was attempting to deploy stop sticks when the vehicle made several swerving movements, striking several other vehicles along 95. I have not heard that there were anyone injured in these other accidents. And they're not accidents. He was intentional with what he was doing, trying to avoid the stop sticks. Came around from the left lane over through traffic to the right side, where he struck the lieutenant as he was out of his vehicle on foot. The vehicle then continued southbound and at some point crossed over to the northbound lanes, where one of our deputies used his vehicle to force the Penske truck off the side of the road. So it went off the right side of the northbound lanes just north of the Maryland House, down over the hill. As our people were able to get to the truck, the driver had exited the vehicle somewhere from the point of being impacted by our police car and running down over the hill, and was on foot. A perimeter was immediately established with all of our allied agencies and partners responding to the scene. And we had two scenes at this point. We had the scene of the bailout and the end of the pursuit just north of the Maryland House off the northbound lanes. And we also had where Lieutenant Burgess was struck north of the Aberdeen interchange in the southbound lanes. Department of Emergency Services obviously responded out right away. to tend to our lieutenant's needs. Trooper 1, I believe it was Trooper 1, Trooper 1 responded, and our deputy was flown to University of Shock Trauma. And at present, I just heard just before I came down the stairs, and I appreciate the few minutes that we were delayed, you being patient. The latest report on his condition is that he's alert, conscious, interacting with family, and undergoing medical checkup. Again, from the impact and the distance that he was thrown, I can tell you again that we are blessed not to be sitting here talking about a fatal incident. A suspicious person was located off of the southbound lanes near the Route 24 interchange, which is exit 77, by one of our deputies in the area. A lookout was given. We encountered this subject. The initial interaction, he was non-responsive. We called for a medical unit. He has been transported to the hospital for observation. We are still working to determine if and how he may be involved in this incident. The detectives from the Harford County Sheriff's Office Criminal Investigation Division have assumed the complete investigation and will work with our partners and work tirelessly to find the person. If it's not the one that we have already encountered, then who's responsible for this? The truck itself, as I said, it's a rental truck. In the truck, box-style truck, in the truck, there is a container of cooking oil, which we understand, we have linked it back, investigators have already linked it back to a theft that occurred today at the Applebee's in the city of Aberdeen. And apparently that's the motivation, what assumed to be the motivation for fleeing the attempt at the initial traffic stop. Lieutenant Burgess is a 29-year member of this office. He began his career in corrections and moved over to law enforcement in 1998. And as I said, he's currently assigned as the Assistant Commander of the Community Services Division. He was transported to shock trauma, and again, he's alert and conscious. And again, I want to thank all of our partners, the Aberdeen Police Department, State Police, Transportation Authority Police, Baltimore County Police, who sent their tactical team up to assist ours in the perimeter and the manhunt search. Department of Emergency Services, obviously, our partner, the Abingdon and Aberdeen Volunteer Fire Companies, and the State Highway Administration. And I know I'm probably missing some of the partners we had out there. Also want to note, that's the most major thoroughfare, the largest thoroughfare on the East Coast, and we shut down both directions, obviously, for a long period of time. And, to do what has to be done to preserve public safety and to look for the suspect and tend to our injured deputy. I understand frustration, and I appreciate the patience of all the people going north and south who spent a whole lot of time out there on I-95 today or on our other roads trying to divert around the scene. As Christy said, I will take some questions. Again, it's very, very early, so I don't know what I can answer or what I'm going to be able to answer. I'm probably going to look for permission from the investigators before I do that. So with that said, I'll take what questions.
Sheriff, you said the lieutenant was struck when he was out of his vehicle. What was the nature of him being out of his vehicle?
He was out getting his stop sticks deployed on the interstate highway.
I sort of have a two-part question. First, can you give us the correct title and spelling of the lieutenant's name who was struck? And my second part of the question is, you mentioned a number of cars between the initial stop and on the highway that were struck. Do we have an estimate of how many cars? I know you said no injuries, but do you know how many cars the Penske truck actually struck?
On 95, I believe it was a tractor trailer, there was a Tesla, and I believe there was one other car. There were three cars, at least three that were hit on 95, in addition to our police car and the deputy who was on foot. His car was also hit.
You said you found somebody who was unresponsive. Can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by unresponsive?
There was a lookout given. I didn't, the second part, we'll get you the name, but it's Lieutenant Robert, R-O-B-E-R-T, Burgess, B-U-R-G-E-S-S. I'm sorry, give me.
Yeah, the unresponsive person.
Yes. We had a lookout, I guess a caller came in through the dispatch center, which was overseen by Department of Emergency Services. A lookout was given for a individual walking southbound on the shoulder of the highway. One of our captains driving down there encountered that individual. and began speaking to him, and the person was just non-responsive, and concerned out of his safety, and also wondering if he's tied to this event. He asked for a medic unit to respond. They came and transported him to Upper Chesapeake, where he is at present, being tended to, and also with our investigators.
There's several comments from potential witnesses in Facebook that have said that they saw that the Penske's truck's tires may have been blown out before the actual crash. Is that the case, and do we know if that's connected to the officer trying to lay out those?
From what I'm aware, he did not hit the stop sticks, and there were no other attempts that I'm aware of, subject to change very early on, to no opportunities to get stop sticks out in front of him. I did hear myself on the radio as we were responding that the truck's tires were gone and he was shredding them coming down the road, coming down southbound in the northbound lanes of 95.
Sheriff, do you find any weapons in a vehicle or in a person?
Not that I've been told.
And can you shed a little more light on the type of theft of the oil?
Cooking oil, we've had this before, we've made arrests on this before, but apparently it is profitable to some criminals to go to businesses and steal their used cooking oil, and they can sell that for cash. So we've made some arrests on that in the past. I don't know whether the individual that we are dealing with at the hospital is affiliated in the past with any of those, but we certainly know that that vehicle, the Penske rental truck, and the oil in there came from Applebee's from a theft that occurred late last night or this morning.
Sheriff Gaylord, you mentioned that the driver then ran over the hill and then was on foot, and then you guys established a perimeter. How long approximately did it take before your officers were able to locate the subject or possible subject on the road?
Well, again, and we don't know for sure at this point. Early on, we haven't been able to talk to Burgess, who began the pursuit and then was also unfortunately struck by this vehicle. So we haven't been able to talk to him at great depth as far as whether we're looking for one person or two people. The lookout was initially for one individual out of the truck. The perimeter was set up almost immediately. It's a good probably 5 miles from where the pursuit ended and the truck is in the woods down to where we encountered this other individual.
Sheriff, can you just talk about how important it was for your officers to have the type of interactions they did, the things that ended up stopping the truck, like putting out the stop tracks and even having that pit maneuver to stop the truck? How important was it to get that truck to stop as soon as possible, specifically because it was driving into oncoming traffic?
Certainly. Anytime you have a pursuit, there's a danger to the public, there's a danger to the person fleeing, there's a danger to the police officers involved, and we've seen all three of those things in this instant. We do not like, contrary to what you see on TV, we do not like pursuits. And when you're driving a larger single-unit vehicle and you are just running into cars and you are getting the wrong way on the interstate, there's a lot of concern on everybody's part about the safety. So I'm pleased that we were able to get it stopped. Sadly, after our deputy paid a serious injury price, but we were able to get him stopped without further injury or impact. And now we just want to make sure we find him, whether he's the person that we are dealing with at the hospital or whether he's someone else still on the lookout. We still have police officers in the area. If you made it up that far, traffic was a nightmare. If you made it up that far, the police response was amazing. All of our allied partners, the perimeter that went up quickly, as I said, Baltimore County sent their tactical team, our SRT team was out there. So the work that our men and women do every day across all the agencies is just amazing, and to see them come together when needed is great. And hopefully, if it's not the person that we're dealing with at the hospital, we will find the person who's guilty of this and bring them to justice.
Any message to the community to maybe help with those efforts? I mean, there were a lot of cars who were witnessing this happen, whether they were witnessing it oncoming or across the highway. Any?
Well, I would say if you have information that you think may benefit us, our investigators are working diligently. I'll have Christy get the best email address or phone number to call and provide it to you all before we leave here today. But certainly, if you think you have information that you think can be beneficial to the investigation, we want to know about that. If there's a tip, we want you to share that with our investigators.
And speaking of that, any witnesses see an individual leave the truck, and what tools are available to help you tie that person to the truck or not?
Well, so far, I mean, we will use every tool. You know, this agency just found a needle in a haystack in the Rachel Morin case. We will find the person responsible for this using whatever methods that we have to use. You know, this is Harford County. We don't tolerate the criminal behavior that other jurisdictions want to invite there. This is unacceptable, putting that many people in danger and attempting to take the life of a deputy, unacceptable. We will find them. What methods, from what I've heard so far, no one actually saw him depart the truck. A hectic scene, obviously. No one saw the driver, and if there was a passenger, saw anyone depart the cab of the truck as it went down over the hill in the embankment. Canines were out there, our SRT and the patrol began setting up perimeters immediately. There was some talk that maybe he had bailed earlier and was unseen and let the truck roll, and that's a possibility. So,
Did he make any incriminating statements?
the person that at the hospital, not that I have heard of so far.
You said the deputy was thrown. Do you have an approximate length of how far?
I was at the scene, and I would estimate it, and I was once upon a time an accident reconstructionist, but I'm not anymore. I would say 30, 40 feet, a good distance, across one entire lane, if not two. Anything? Again, thank you for your patience. I know we were a little late in getting started, and Christy will be sure to let you know of any updates as we work this case forward. Anybody want to? Thank you.
Thank